Welcome to What's the Reality with me, Cache Roberts, and this is another episode of What's the Reality on What the Reality, the Hills edition. I'm talking about part one. I'm going to be talking about the Hills season to season. I dissect everything that's happened from seasons 1 through 6. Not really 6 because that was like a terrible season, but I'm going to be talking about LC. I'm talking about Adrena and Justin Bobby. I'm talking about Heidi and Spencer Pratt. And I'm talking about the most gorgeous Brody Jenner. I'm going to be talking about all of it, dissecting it, and really my love for the Hills and really setting the foundation. Stay tuned for part two, where I'm going to talk about the most fake and scripted things that ever happened on the Hills and just things you would not imagine, things that were so staged. But part one, we're really just going to be deep diving into the Hills, my love for the Hills, and everything that went on the Hills. Welcome to the pod. You are listening/watching What the Reality with me, Cache Roberts. I am back. I wasn't even meaning to take off Toxic Tuesday. However, I did. Just because of some changes I'm sure you guys have seen. I have a new cover, very much chic, very much me on period. And now I'm filming differently. You guys can literally see in the background if you're watching, like you can see my desk behind me. That's where I would normally film. I'm like trying to show my hand. That's where I would normally film, but the lighting and daylight savings has not been my friend. And I'm like, maybe I should just do it at the vanity. This is the vanity. I'm always at the vanity. And I feel like it also looks just better esque. There's like a nice painting of lips there. There's the Chanel shoes there. So I just think it looks better and more put together. Like literally my TV's paused. But I think this is going to be my new filming. So get used to this. This is going to be my new setup. How are you guys doing? I'm also on a new mic and it sounds very crisp, very clear, period, Amazon. Yes, if you can tell by the title, this is not a Toxic Tuesday episode. We're going to get back to Toxic Tuesday because there's been a lot happening this week. So catch me next Tuesday. I had to take off. I was editing, doing a lot of stuff. But I told you guys, like I promised in my previous Toxic Tuesday, that there would be a Friday episode. Like I said, you can catch me every Tuesday, some Fridays. I also have like a new, and not a new intro, but I just have I've revamped the pod because I really do want some numbers. My TikTok video went like low key, high key. It's viral right now. I talked about Huda Mustafa, and there's like a lot of eyes right now on the pod. And I just wanted a revamp. I needed a facelift of the pod, and I really want to be taken serious in the pop culture, entertainment, celebrity industry. So I was like, let me change some things around. I'm so grateful for my new, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to silent my phone. I'm so grateful for my new podcast photo because like I'm obsessed with it and it just looks so good. Like guys, I'm obsessed with my new podcast photo. It just looks so clean, fresh, everything, not cluttered or anything. And I think it really represents me, if anything. But yes, new mic, new seating, new podcast art. Who is she? I don't know, but as you can tell as the title, as I promised last Toxic Tuesday, that I was going to be doing a deep dive. I was going to be doing another What's the Reality on What the Reality. And as you can tell from the title, I don't know how many times I have to say that. I'm doing a deep dive on the Hills. That's actually what's paused right now. I renewed my Paramount Plus subscription so I could really get into the Hills, mood. And I could really get ready to, really do a deep dive. I've only made it to season 4. I've been watching this like nonstop for the past 2 weeks. I did not make it to season 5 and 6. But I argue season 2 and 3, I argue that season 2 and 3 are probably like the best seasons. Like season 4 is good, but I feel like season 5 is like downhill, and then season 6 is the ending. So in part 1, there's going to be 2 parts, of course. Part 1, we are going to be doing a full deep dive season after season, everything that's happened, because we're really setting it up for part 2. In part 2, I really want to talk about everything that was allegedly scripted slash put on by producers, everything that was fake. So I'm doing what's the reality on The Hills, because The Hills has been argumentatively one of the most changing, most iconic, pop culture worthy reality series. But they also had so many allegations of, scripted, fake. Like a lot of people towards the end of the series was like, this show is so fake. And it's so crazy because, like, as I watch it back, I'm like, there's just some things that were clearly fake. And there's some things that cast members have now said this was totally staged. This wasn't even happening. A lot of stuff. So part 2 is really going to dig deep into what the cast members and stuff are saying is fake, which was honestly a lot of stuff. I still have to like get another stool to plop my mic on. This mic is really nice, but it's pretty low. So I'm trying to like, I don't want to talk into it, but okay, that might be better to pick up on sound. But yes, like, ooh, guys, I've really like tried to get this vanity set up as a desk. We shall see if it lasts. I have to like remember how I have everything set up. Okay, so yes, we're doing a deep dive. So let's just get right into part 1. Like I said, part 1 is really setting up part 2, which is what's really the reality on The Hills. Like what was real, what was not real on The Hills. Part 1, we're just really going to dig deep into the series that I literally fell in love with. This is one of the very first reality shows. I always say this and America's Next Top Model were the reality shows outside of Housewives that really got me onto, reality TV. And The Hills was one of those shows that was airing when I was like 6 years old. So I had no business watching it. Definitely wasn't watching it at 6 years old. But The Hills, I want to say circa like 2012, 2013, was definitely airing. So I was like 12, 13, airing during those summers on MTV. And I would be watching it in my basement. I was addicted to The Hills. Like that's how I found The Hills. And The Hills officially went off air. So it was airing like 2006 through 2010. So reruns during like 2012, 2013, even 2014 is probably normal. I think that's when it was rerunning a lot on MTV. That's pretty normal for reruns. And that's when I really grew to like love it. And like that's where I learned it. So I learned it when it was off air. I don't think like I was really watching it as a 10-year-old. Now that I think about it, like I was watching it during those summers when it was re-airing on MTV, like all summer long. Like I swear that was all that was playing, maybe because they just knew like the audience at that time. That was a time to be alive. I literally was eating ramen noodles, watching The Hills in my basement. Like you can't make this stuff up. So that's when I got onto The Hills. I wasn't watching it when it initially aired. So now we have that time frame of when it was airing. Of course, The Hills is about LC, Lauren Conrad from Laguna Hills. And it's so shocking because it's like, I never watched Laguna Hills. I tried to get into it when it was on Netflix for a hot second, and I just thought it was terrible. I thought The Hills was the better predecessor because there's 2 of Laguna Hills. There's The Hills and then The City. I haven't watched The City. The City's based on Whitney Port. We'll get into that. But The Hills, I just felt like was the best ultimate franchise. Obviously, there were some things I could definitely tell were like giving very fake, in my opinion. But The Hills was really good. Laguna Beach, not so much. But Laguna Beach had taken Lauren Conrad, nickname LC back in the day, and put her on The Hills, her journey in Los Angeles. She had moved from Laguna Beach to Los Angeles to pursue a career in fashion, navigate these social relationships, her friendships, and it also was following her good friend Heidi. So a lot of people are like, how did Heidi and Lauren know each other. They actually went to school together because Heidi is from Colorado. So they actually went to school together. I cannot remember. I know I wrote it down where Heidi and her met. They met at they met in college at the Academy of Art University in San Francisco. I think they were both freshmen. And I don't think I'm trying to remember. They clearly both dropped out and moved to LA to pursue school of like the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. Heidi dropped out of that. She didn't really like it. She was out of that by like the end of season 1. She wasn't really a big fan of school. So she didn't finish that, but Lauren would continue taking classes at this Fashion Institute of Design or whatever, and, eventually would get an internship at Teen Vogue. Before I get into that, I just want to like set the scene. Before I get into like the different seasons, I just wanted to set the scene. And like I said, so this part 1, I am going to be talking about the Hills in general, the different seasons, what happened, what went on, because in order for you guys to understand season 2, or if you don't want to listen to season 1, like season 1's a lot of the background work. Like season 2 is really, I'm going to pick out like 10 different instances, 10 different fights or like, situations on the show. And I'm going to point out what's fake and what wasn't. There's some controversial moments on the show. I might pick out more than 10, whatever fills my hour block. I am going to pick that out and dissect what was real and fake, because like I said, a lot of the cast have now come out about certain situations on the show that actually were staged by production, and it was scripted and it wasn't real. So I think that'll be really interesting for part 2, like iconic, infamous moments that actually was never even real. So that's why I said season 1 is really going to be talking about Heidi, and Spencer's founding of their relationship, the issues with Spencer and Lauren Conrad, and her relationship with Brody, her friendships in general, Audrina, who honestly was like one of my favorite, Whitney Port. We're going to be getting into really the background. So as I'm setting it up, just keep in mind that's where we're kind of going with at least the part 1. Part 2, we're going to get into that whole, oh my gosh, was it real or was it fake? Which I think is going to be very interesting. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But yes, so The Hills premiered May 31st, 2006. I was a 6-year-old, and it would continue on for 6 seasons until July 2010. And it opened up with that iconic Natasha Bedingfield Unwritten song, and which they do not play on Paramount Plus. I'm so upset. Like, I can't get the intro anywhere. And I was looking it up why it's not even there. I guess some licensing issue. I guess when like a show like that has a celebrity singing in it and it's like something to be carried on. Like I think if you catch it on MTV these days, it'll be on. But I don't even think they're playing it on MTV now. I don't know what's happening with MTV. MTV's having like a whole rebrand. They're canceling a lot of shows. A lot of people got laid off. I saw that. MTV, I heard, was like going off air like 2026 or something. Like they're not even going to be like a network anymore. So very sad what's happening with television and media right now. But if it was to be on something like MTV, its original home, I think they would have been playing the Natasha Bedingfield song. Now that it's on Paramount Plus, even on YouTube, little clips, even when it was on Netflix and I was rewatching it, I think like a year or two ago. I think it was like a year ago I was rewatching it. They didn't even have that song because of the licensing issue. And every time, you know how licensing works. Every time someone, listens to that the artist should get paid. So that would be a lot of times the artist is getting paid. And I think the licensing issue came with MTV clearly not making that much money. They cannot afford for Natasha Bedingfield to get paid every time someone's watching The Hills and listening to that intro. That would be a lot of times. It's different than like, like what I would do for my pod, like an Artlist free, like, well, I use an artist, but it's like, it would be different for like a commercial sound. So that's why they just took her song out completely, because that's a song. So she would be getting paid. So that's a little insight as to why, if you guys do watch The Hills now, you're not going to hear the Natasha Bedingfield song, which I think is really interesting. So it premiered, and we have Lauren Conrad riding through. She's leaving her friends back, her family back at Laguna Beach. She's leaving her high school life behind, and she's riding down to the hills. And we see that infamous Hollywood sign. And, you know, she is solidified as the main character of this series. And like I said, this series is following her and her roommate Heidi, who also went to that San Francisco school of her. They both drop out. They're both on their mission to make it in LA. And, you know, just chase their dreams, navigate these friendships and stuff. We also are introduced to this beautiful dark brunette, which just seems impossible to see in LA, California in general. Everyone's blonde, you know. We're introduced to this beautiful brunette. You know, her name is Audrina Patridge. I've never said her name out loud, but we know Audrina. And she is actually their neighbor. And Heidi is the one that actually makes nice with Audrina, you know, because Heidi's been skipping classes and she not really messing with school. Like, that's just the tea. And then we see Lauren go off to Teen Vogue as an intern, and that's where we meet Whitney Port. The famous Whitney Port now has went on to do amazing things. Like, you would really forget she was on the Hills, because Whitney Port, whenever she was on the Hills, was about her money and was about her name and was about, you know, making it in the fashion world. And it's crazy to me because she did exactly what she set out to be. So we get introduced to these two supporting characters, but it's really about Lauren and Heidi to start out. So that's really our season one, the basis of the Hills, and that's how it really started. So I say the show doesn't really get started until season 2, but at the end of season 1, it's like the infamous Lauren will always be known as the woman that did not go to Paris and stay behind with Jason. Jason is her high school sweetheart. They're trying to navigate things, but Jason, I don't think a lot of people realize, or maybe they do. I didn't realize when I was watching it, probably like as a 12, 13-year-old. And even like a year ago, like their relationship was really toxic. Her and Jason's relationship was very toxic. He abused substances. He had a drug issue. He had an alcohol issue, and you could just tell like he was a jerk to her during the season 1, but she was really trying to fight for that relationship. And this would be the relationship that kind of really scarred Lauren Conrad forever, kind of on this series, especially moving into season 2, season 3. Like you can just tell, like she even brings him up in season 2. Like this is a relationship that really sticks with her and damages her. And infamously, her boss at Teen Vogue, not infamously, but famously, her boss at Teen Vogue asked her and Whitney, you guys want to go to Paris? And Whitney goes, which kind of solidifies, I think, her career in the fashion industry. Lauren does not go because she wants to stay behind, work on her relationship with Jason. Keep in mind, they're not even 21. They're not even 21 by season 1. They're not 21. She stays behind and chooses her boyfriend and chooses to move into a home in Malibu with him. And her boss is always so shocked because I'll never forget that scene. It's like Whitney shows up to the airport and Lauren does not show up there. And it's like, to make such a ill-mannered decision like that is like beyond me. And keep in mind, like I said, they weren't even 21. So you're like this 20-year-old woman. I mean, you don't really fault her because like you're that young, you're in love, and she wanted to focus on her relationship, and she really thought her and Jason were going to be together forever. So she didn't go to Paris. We have the opening of season 2. Season 2, like Jason is getting his stuff out of her car, like they're moving stuff out. She's emotional. They're saying goodbye. The relationship clearly did not work out, and we're going to get those filled in pieces throughout the season, but it was just very bad. He was a partier, and like I said, he had a substance issue, and we even see that now on The Hills, The New Beginnings. I don't know if you guys watched it. I watched it. It was not good. But I just watched it because I wanted to see who was on there, because Whitney was on there, Adriana was on there, Heidi and Spencer was on there, and Brody, but it was just totally different. They did add Jason and his wife Ashley on there, and he was very much in his sobriety, like living in it, and very strong in it. And who else was on there? Frankie was on there, but it just wasn't the same. Kristin showed up like for a couple episodes, and then but LC was never on there, and I just feel like that was like the main piece. And also like Heidi and Spencer were just so different. They're parents now, so the Hills News beginning, I think they had like 2 seasons, but it did not last long. It did not get the Jersey Shore family vacation treatment, in my opinion. So I don't think it was received well. So, yes. So we get in the opening of season 2. We are now meeting Spencer Pratt, the notorious reality douchebag star who is very reformed now, must I say. He's very reformed now. And we also meet the handsome Brody Jenner. I always thought Brody Jenner was handsome. As you guys know, hence the name. Brody Jenner was Bruce Jenner's. There's Brody Jenner and Brandon Jenner. We know Kylie Jenner, Kendall Jenner. He's actually related to Kylie and Kendall. They're like half siblings. I don't know if they still talk to this day. Like, I feel like they weren't even at Kris Jenner's 70th. I don't know. It's very interesting. And there's a connection there. So obviously Bruce Jenner was their dad. And I have to look up who their mom is because that's the ultimate connection. I think it was Linda. Is it Linda Thompson? Let me see. Brody Jenner mom. Is it? It is Linda Thompson. And the gag is Linda Thompson appeared on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I think it was season 4 or 5. And she was at one of LVP's parties. And LVP had failed to tell. Because what is the connection? LVP had failed to tell Yolanda. Guys, this is all connected. LVP failed to tell Yolanda that Linda Thompson was going to be there. Linda Thompson is David Foster's ex. Yolanda and David Foster were in a marriage at the time. Mind blown. And then, as you know, Kyle Richards is extremely cool with the Kardashian clan, the Jenner clan, because she's cool with was it Faye Resnick? Faye Resnick knows them all from that OJ Simpson, Nicole Smith, like that whole, Nicole Simpson, that whole group is interconnected. It's very crazy when I think about it. And I think they're connected. Thompson knows like the Hilton or something. Like, it's very interesting, the connection. Okay, the connection. As I say that, my iPad's like not connected. Okay, it's back to being connected. So I just had to like connect the octagon because there's a lot of connections. So yes, we meet the. I'm like, is someone coming? Okay, I think it's the heat turning on. We meet the famous Brody Jenner, who Spencer and Heidi try to set up with Lauren. At this point, Heidi and Spencer are in a relationship on again, off again. Lauren initially likes Spencer. She does not have an issue with Spencer, but Spencer ends up being a douchebag. You know, he has a bad habit of keeping playmates around him. And it's so funny I say that because now Heidi looks like the ultimate playmate. Like, I think that was her hugest insecurity, is like him being around playmates. Like, Heidi looked like a girl from Colorado, a normal girl. And then even in I'm currently on season 4, you kind of see her changing into that playmate image, like the bleach blonde hair. You know, she's had the breast job by season 4, and then she's had a nose job. I think she should stop there because I thought she looked good. I loved her with like the bleach blonde hair, the nose job, and then the breast. So I was like, okay, this is cute. And then obviously we know in season 6, there was an ultimate reveal because she kind of took that to the next level. I digress. But Spencer and her, like, on again, off again. Like, he claims he loves her, doesn't love her, whatever. But he has a bad cheating problem or a bad playmate issue. I don't know what it is about LA, but a lot of them are around the playmates. I guess that's where Hugh Hefner is. But the playmates are out, and there's a lot of blonde bimbos. There's a lot of dark brunette bimbos. Like, the playmates are out in LA in this scene for the Hills around this time. I don't know what the connection is. So at this point, Audrina, you know, her and Heidi were cool season 1. So in season 2, Audrina is actually on the outs with Lauren and Heidi. And the season 2 opens with Heidi and Spencer in a relationship. But Spencer was also double timing Heidi by trying to get with Adrena. So Adrena finds herself on the outs with Heidi, though she was very close to her first season. And basically, like I said, like there's rumors that Adrena and Spencer were seeing each other or whatever. And Heidi believed it. Lauren did not believe it. So therefore, Lauren's being a good friend. They're not basically icing out Adrena. But Adrena and Lauren end up forming their own relationship, their own bond, and end up hanging out. And yeah, Heidi, of course, doesn't like that. So I'm hearing the blogs were saying that the real reason the girls, I have this in my notes, the real reason that the girls were icing out Adrena, I don't know if this is true, we'll find out in part 2. The blogs were saying the real reason that the two were not talking was because Adrena was hanging out with Jason after him and Lauren broke up. I don't know if that's true or not, but because I don't believe it, because Lauren never seemed to have an issue with Adrena that season. So I don't know if I believe that. And then, in fact, Adrena and Lauren actually, like I said, they get close throughout the season because Heidi is getting closer to Spencer and obviously putting her relationship with Spencer over Lauren. And we get the infamous, like, their friendship, like, just completely falls apart during season 2. Like, it didn't take that long because Heidi is so engulfed in this new relationship with Spencer, and it's a very toxic relationship. So even by the end, like, or by midway, Heidi's moving out of her and Lauren's apartment to move in with Spencer. And the relationship just moved very fast. It's something that Lauren was just warning her. She was like, hey, like, just be aware, like, this relationship is moving very fast. So we see season 2, that drift between Lauren and Heidi, which I said would soon mark the end of their relationship because we're going to get into season 3 of everything that happened. But in terms of like other things that happen, like Lauren and Brody are like trying it. Like they have a flirty banter, but I don't think it's any more than that. I'm also going to talk about that in part 2 because they both have spoken out about that. I don't believe the relationship was very forced. I'll just say that, but I'll get more into it. And then we do get which is why it's also confusing, because Lauren was very hesitant to date Brody. And I'll never forget it. She said it to Adrena or Heidi. She was like, he's tainted by Kristin. So now we're kind of getting that connection back to Laguna Hills, because we know that not Laguna Hills, because we know on Laguna Beach that Kristin was the one that was dating, what was it, Stefan or whatever? Yes, it was Stefan. And LC was his friend and had a crush on him. And I guess that was like the big drama, Kristin icing out Lauren or whatever, Lauren liking Stefan, them sharing something. I didn't watch Laguna Beach, so I don't really have much knowledge, but I know the drama between Kristin and Lauren stems from Laguna Beach. So, but we'll also talk about, is it real or not? Because there's been some podcasts and stuff. I got to listen to this one podcast when Kristin has Lauren on, but that was like a whole thing of like contention. And then there's also this rift, like I said, with Lauren and Heidi going on because of the whole, Spencer of it all. Spencer's coming really much into the relationship. There's like this loud car passing. It's so loud. Spencer's really coming in between the relationship. And there's this friend, Jen Bunny. This is Lauren's friend since they were like 4 or 5. Very young. I'm like, there's so much that happened during season 2. Like, guys, literally. I'm like looking back at my notes. Jen Bunny came around in season 2. I don't know if she was around in season 1. Season 1 was very short. It was only like 8-10 episodes. Season 2 was like the first time we actually see it. Like, it was expanded a little longer. I think it was like 14 episodes. And then season 3 was way too long. It was 28 episodes. Season 4 was 20. Season 5 was 20 as well. And then season 6 was very short. It was like 10 episodes. 10 or 12. But Jen Bunny is Lauren's friend. It goes way back. Jen Bunny is a little lit. It's her birthday. And Heidi is very adamant on setting up Brody with Jen Bunny. And it's really weird. They do end up hooking up. It gets back to Lauren. Lauren is super pissed off. I mean, as any woman would be. This is my friend from childhood. And Lauren also reveals that Jen Bunny, which also comes into play in season 3, Jim Bunny is like the root of her friendship issue with Lo, who we meet in season 3, because Lo and her stopped talking because of Jim Bunny. Jim Bunny has an issue with stealing her friends' men, and Lo is someone that has not liked Jim Bunny, and she's tried to warn her. So that's also another connection as we lead into season 3. But yes, that was really weird, like watching it back. Like Jen tries to get back on her good side, like, hey, like I didn't mean to do that, whatever. It's just really weird that she like would hook up with Brody knowing that Elsie was remotely interested. Yeah, like her and Brody were never serious, but they attempted to be serious multiple times throughout the series, and it just never really panned out. And that's another relationship I want to break down on part 2. Like, was it real? Was it fake? Leading into season 3, that is the end of Heidi and Lauren's relationship, because Lauren does not like Spencer. She thinks he's very controlling. She thinks they move too fast, whatever. But something has broken the camel's back. I think season 3, like I said, this had 28 episodes. The Hills was in its height at this point. The drama series, reality series, because it was ordered for 28 episodes. Like normally stuff gets ordered like 22 is like the lucky number. This had 28 episodes, season 3. And the huge rumor that was going around was that Lauren and Jason, so now we're going back to season 1, early season 2, that they created a sex tape, and that Heidi had told Spencer about this. Spencer had actually sold this story to Perez Hilton. What is he doing now? Like, there was when blogs were a thing, and they were threatening to, and he was threatening that he had these pictures or whatever. He kind of sauced up the story, but that they had this sex tape, and this was when sex tapes were a thing. This is after the Paris Hilton. This is after the Kim Kardashian. This is kind of when sex tapes are kind of like scandalous. This is probably around Pamela Anderson, Tommy, was it Pamela Anderson? Yeah. And Tommy. Like, this is when sex tapes are kind of like, ooh, scandalous, but it's also something that's low-key might make you 10 times more famous. So we have that. And then, like I said, that's when Kim Kardashian and Ray J. But it's like, I can't look that up because then it'll literally be on my phone. I'm like, year. What year was that? 2007. So yeah, this started airing 2006. So yeah, their tape Ray J and Kim Kardashian's tape was leaked in 2007. Kim Kardashian became super famous 2008, 2009. Rest is history. Keeping the Kardashians on since 2011. Rest is history. So like I said, around this time, and this was following Paris Hilton's sex tape as well. This is around that time. I also want to check when was Tommy Lee. It's Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee, and I want to see when that was. And that Pamela Anderson. Let me see when theirs was, because I just think this is all interesting because I have another connection with that. Let me see. Year. What year was their tape? Oh. Okay, well, that was totally wrong. It was around Kim Kardashian, Ray J's. Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson's was in 1997, 98. They recorded in 95. I don't know why I thought it was later than that. I got the dates mixed up. But the connection with that, with The Hills, is like The Hills' New Beginning actually featured Pamela Anderson's son. I can't remember his name. I think his name was Brandon Lee. He was on The Hills' New Beginnings, and Pamela Anderson was on there. And it's not a connection, not a direct connection, but Brandon was around Jason, because Jason was a series regular on The New Beginnings, and there were rumors. And I wonder if they address this. I wonder now if I have to go back and watch this, and they do address, or if they address like the tape rumors from season 3 that Heidi and Spencer had started, or if there was any drama between Heidi, Spencer, and Jason. Now knowing that you just got to go back, like once you like know this stuff, I'm like, wait, I should actually like go back and see if there's a connection. I don't know if there was any connection between Jason, Spencer, and well, obviously Brandon Lee would have nothing to do with it, but I'm just saying, obviously his mom was at the height of a sex tape scandal that kind of like skyrocketed her career. Um, but I'm wondering if there was tension between Jason and Spencer initially filming on The Hill's New Beginnings, because Spencer was always the one responsible for those rumors. So those rumors, yes, they did come from Spencer. And I found on Reddit someone was like, it sounds like Lauren probably confided to Heidi that she had something with Jason, and Heidi told Spencer in efforts to sauce up the show, make it appear more ratings and stuff. Spencer had told this to Perez Hilton, and it was all being reported in the blogs. This got so bad that like Lauren's mom actually like called her and was like, there's rumors, like they're online saying that you have a sex tape, and it's gotten back to her mom. So I remember her being really upset about this, and this kind of like marks Spencer and Heidi as like the ultimate the ultimate villains on the Hills. This is kind of their dark era, because it's clear as day. We even get Brody confirming towards the end of season 3 that he knows for a fact it was Spencer. And Lauren's issue was that, Heidi, you knew your husband was going around, or he's not the husband at this time, your boyfriend was going around saying this, and you did not defend me at all as a friend. So I understood where Lauren was coming from, and she's like, you knew where these rumors were coming from. Heidi tried to play dumb as if she had no idea where these rumors were coming from, and that she was not involved with it. And this is when we get Lauren famously yelling at Heidi, "You know what you did." I think that's what she had said. I think that's what she said, like, famously. Yes, you know what you did at the party. It was like the first episode of like season 3. So also this season, we see Lauren and Brody also become closer. They still have this romantic banter going on, but they are very good friends. I mean, they kiss and stuff sometimes, but like they go out on dates. Like they just become very close. And she also gets cool with Frankie. We meet Frankie Delegato, who was also on The Hills New Beginnings. And this is causing a rift between Spencer, because Spencer and Brody were initially friends, right? And that was his friends. But now that Lauren has literally like washed her hands of Heidi and Spencer, Spencer does not like anyone hanging out with her, including Heidi. And like I said, Heidi really taps into that villain role. Like, she is just up Spencer's ass. Like, that is all they're doing. Is like, it's just her and Spencer filming a lot of scenes, because they're really ostracized from the group. Like, they're not even like getting invited to parties and stuff, or they're out, but it's like they are living together. It's really them on an island and then everyone else, which could be kind of boring to watch. Like, when I watch some of these episodes back, I'm like, it's just a scene with like Heidi and Spencer. Like, and at this point, I would say their relationship was very solid because they only had each other. But, Heidi was really on an island alone. Also, what is Spencer's job? I'm going to look into that, because, like, he was always just, like, around. I don't know what his job was. Like, Heidi obviously worked for Bolt House Productions. I don't know if I ever said that. She worked for Bolt House Productions, which is, like, this huge, entertainment events place. And that's where she eventually got into, like, that PR world, all of that stuff. Whereas, like I said, Lauren's at Teen Vogue, and then Audrina was at this music place. I can't think of the name, but she was working the desk for that, and she was like really into like the bands and the music and stuff. So it was really cool seeing them in all their different careers in LA, and everything that it had to offer. Also, this season we are introduced to the very hot Justin, aka Justin Bobby. We only know him as Justin Bobby because Lo is the one that infamously named him Justin Bobby. But Justin, which is Adrina's on again and off again boyfriend, they are very toxic together. This ends up being a whirlwind for the next 3 seasons. Will they or won't they? Well, they did and they won't. It's very exhausting to watch The Hills binge it like I just did this past couple weeks. And just, it's like, Adrina, Justin, they're on again, they're off again, they're on again, they're off again. That relationship, so toxic, like very toxic. It's insane. And I also say, like, during this season, like, we kind of are seeing Like Lauren, I don't want to say she's making the same mistake, because I actually think out of all of them, I associate myself with Lauren. It's like very hard for me to be like friends with people and like see them in tough romance relationships when it's like, you know better, like I want so much more for you. And I think Lauren is such a girl's girl, and she's constantly getting screwed over by her friends prioritizing men in their friendships. Like it happened with Heidi and Spencer, and now it's kind of happening with Adrena and Justin. And like Adrena's really trying to get, at this point, also, I don't know if I mentioned, Adrena and Lauren are really good friends and they're living together. So Adrena moved in with Lauren once Heidi moved out to live with Spencer. But Adrena really wants Justin to really mingle with Lauren. We see Lo come around a little bit, but Lo is also a student. And also Lo's working, I don't know if she's working at Smashbox at the time, but her career sort of journey is beauty, which I'm like obsessed with. And Smashbox is still based in Culver City, California to this day. Did some research. But she really wants Justin to get along with his friends, but it's so clear because it's like, as I'm on season 4 now. Season 4, Justin is a lot cleaner. Even cleaned up, because he had a showering problem. He just looked dirty. I said he was hot, like in that grungy way. Like he was just hot, like he just looked like one of those LA guys on the scene, like in a band or something. Like that was his personality. However, he was not clean drug wise, because I remember when he first met Lauren, he's just burping. It was very weird. He was very rude to her and Lo, like didn't acknowledge them at all. So it kind of places some tension. I think Adrena being in that relationship with Justin placed a lot of tension on her friendship with Lauren, because Lauren's like, why are you with this man? That sucks. Also, keep in mind, Lauren is fresh off of her relationship with Jason, and she even admits that. And she's like, I'm scarred from this relationship. So I am very cognizant of what you're doing in your relationship, all this stuff, whatever. Like she's just very on the lookout for her friend. I mean, as any friend would be. So that's kind of what's rubbed the wrong way, in my opinion, when it comes to their friendship. That's kind of the downfall of that. And then we get so yeah, we've met Justin Bobby, which I will continue to say. And this season, we also get Spencer proposing to Heidi. Very fast. Very fast. They moved very fast. Heidi's family initially likes Spencer. They actually really like him. Her mom does question, like, why don't you talk to Lauren still? Like, but they initially like him. This season, we also meet Spencer's sister, Stephanie, who I despise. I despise her more than I despise Spencer, because Stephanie is a two-faced, in the words of Sonia Morgan and Viva Drescher, double dealing bitch. Like, honestly, she is so two-faced. So she is really up Heidi's and Spencer's ass. Like, she really is. And then she cusses out Lauren for no reason in Adrena. I remember at this table, just being a snotty brat. And then she flips throughout the series, and now she's on Team Lauren. No loyalty to Heidi and her brother Spencer. And yeah, Spencer talks to her kind of crazy. There's like 6 great epic Spencer meltdowns when he's making her cry. I personally don't think she should have even been crying. He's just like questioning her loyalty, as I feel like any sibling would. But she really flips so Heidi and Spencer are planning a wedding. Spencer just wants to get eloped. He's not trying to do a big wedding. Heidi's like, I want a huge wedding. Spencer's like, why? Right? So they have marriage. They're having issues, and it ends up to them separating. Heidi goes to Colorado. Like, they're not together midway season 3, which is insane. Like, it's like you did all that season 2 up each other's butts, and then like season 3 midway, you guys get engaged, and then you end up not even being together. Like, they ended, like, I want to say this season was so long. It was like 30 episodes. So it's like, I want to say for like a good 15, they're good. And then the rest of the season, they're not good. Which is like majority of the season, they were not on good terms. So as soon as they're not good, And also, like, Stephanie's the one that's kind of like throwing, I would say, like, oil or like water on the can or whatever the saying is. Water on the can is insane. She's like throwing fire, oil on the fire. What is the saying, you guys? Okay, like, I'm sorry. So Heidi confides in her about like wanting a huge wedding and Spencer being reluctant. So like it's kind of pushing her away. So she's not sure she even wants to get married right now. And Stephanie is taking stuff that Heidi says and saying it to Spencer. Not in a messy way, but just like, hey, by the way, you should know, like, this is probably what your fiance is thinking. Okay. And then Spencer and Heidi have multiple arguments, and he walks out multiple times, and that kind of seals the fate with Heidi's. She goes back home to Colorado. And this is where I say Heidi looked her best when she went home to Colorado. People are saying, I don't know if she got work done in Colorado. I mean, it's a time span like 2 episodes when he comes down to see her. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like we would have not seen her for a couple episodes if she got work done. She got work done ahead of season 3 but I think by the time you get to Colorado, maybe her work had set in so well. I thought she looked really good. Like, her nose job looked really good. I thought her hair looked really good. She looked really good. It looks like she was experimenting with lip plumper. Like, I thought she looked really good. So he chased her down to Colorado, tried to get his woman back. That did not work. Comes back. They're broken up. Relationship vacation. So at this point, Stephanie is making amends with Lauren. And this is the one thing I could not side with when it came to Lauren, is because you're upset that Heidi is still with this man, Spencer, but now you're literally befriending and going out of your way to invite Stephanie to events of yours and stuff, invite her out, invite her to your housewarming and stuff. When it's like, but you don't even fool with Heidi. So I just thought that was very weird, but it's like you're willingly cool with Stephanie Spencer's blood. And I also feel like Stephanie was so thirsty. Like, I really did not like her. She was so thirsty to be Lauren's friend and be a part of the cast of The Hills, which she eventually succeeded after the DUI or whatever. But I just felt like she was so thirsty to be in with that group. And it was just so beyond me to watch. I was just like, I did not. She's double dealing. She's double dealing. So in season 3, what else happened? So we get that. It just went on. Like, and there were so many times I thought it was over, and it actually was not over. At this point, too, there's some tension going on with Adrena and Lauren, like I said, because of the whole Justin Bobby stuff. I don't like this about Adrena, but whenever it comes to Justin, she's very desperate, very insecure, very like just wants to be with him. She tries. We even see her go out on a date with Corey Bohan, who was a BMX bike driver, ends up being her husband. I may do I don't know if we see him again throughout the series, because I'm not finished watching it. I'll probably be done watching it by my part 2 to really analyze like what was real and what was fake. But I don't know if we see him again, but we do see them go out on a couple dates. Corey Bohan ends up being her husband in real life. That relationship, I think, was like a decade long. And it was a very turbulent relationship. She's actually went on Call Her Daddy to open up about how toxic and abusive that relationship is. I might be doing a deep dive on that relationship alone. I didn't realize he was on The Hills. But so she goes on a couple dates with him. He's super sweet, super nice. Lord, did we not know like what was coming. We actually know Adrena has a kid with him, but she has full custody of her daughter, all this stuff. She talks a little bit about this on The Hills, The New Beginnings, how turbulent that relationship was. Side note, her and Justin Bobby are actually like really cool to this day. But I don't like how Adrena gets whenever she's around Justin. Like, it's like she forgets all of her morals and her values, and she becomes this little girl again. And Justin is just not a good guy. Like, he's good to look at, but it's like he's just not a good man for her. And I just hate how she always simps for him. So this is causing tension between Lauren and Adrena. So much that Lauren's like, hey, I know I can come off judgy, and I need to probably stop and like bite my tongue. And it is certain points where it's like Lauren keeps bringing up Justin, like he doesn't like me or all this stuff. And it is kind of pushy. But it comes from a place of love. Like, she just wants the best for her friend. But it does come off kind of naggy. And you can tell Adrena's kind of getting sick of it, but Adrena's also biting her tongue because she doesn't want to upset Lauren by her decisions. So we also get Lauren finally going off to Paris. She's finally choosing herself this season, after she would be known as the girl that always turned down Paris. And yeah, like I said, we also get a lot of back and forth between Brody and Lauren. What else happens this season? Whitney is expressing her desire to really style and just leave Teen Vogue after she was promoted. She was promoted from intern to, like, I think she was like fashion coordinator or something, but she was still like behind the desk. Like, she was sick of doing that. She really wanted to be hands-on, and she realized she really wants to style. She gets a job offer from Kelly Catrone at People's Revolution, ends up leaving Teen Vogue, and ends up working for Kelly Catrone. At this point, tensions are a little weird between Adrena, Lo, and Lauren. Lo is around a lot more towards the end of season 3, and Lo and Lauren want to live together, but Lauren still wants to live with Adrena. She's like, we should get a house together. They get a house. This house layout is very nice, in my opinion, especially because Adrena has went from, living alone, living with Lauren, now living with 2 people. So the house is like the 2 bedrooms in the main house, and there's like a whole like shack in the back, which I personally would love. Like, I'd be like, hey, can I have that? You're like your own home, your own bedroom, sitting room area, and then bathroom. You just gotta come in for a kitchen. Like, however, this move drove Lauren and Adrena further apart because, Lo is coming in now. Lo is very opinionated. I always said she was like very mean and judgy. I didn't like her vibe. There's people I was on Reddit saying they did like her in Laguna Beach more than The Hills. Like I said, I didn't watch Laguna Beach. All I know is from The Hills, I personally did not really like Lo Bosworth. I thought she was really bitchy, very judgmental, very rude. At least that's how it was edited, right? So they do end up moving in. And like I said, Adrena's kind of the odd man out because at this point, like, there's that tension on top of, like, her going back and forth with Justin and Lauren being like, great. And then we also have Lo, who was like Lauren's childhood best friend. They've been friends for like 13 years. So it's like naturally you're like the odd man out. You know what I mean? But Adrena also at this point is going apartment shopping, and she's like, I think I want to like move out. It's just weird tension in the house. She decides to say, the ladies like try to work it out, and at this point Justin is like really her support system. Like I said, season 3, how it started was like he was messed up. He went away for like a couple of episodes, like I think like 10 episodes, maybe like 8 to 10, and then came back, was like very clean, like very nice guy. Like, he seemed to really change his act. Also, him and Adrena literally separated at that time because they went out together and he literally made out with some girl at the bar. Like, he was a whole mess. She broke up with him, started dating that Corey guy. I don't think it went anywhere at the time, but like I said, clearly it went somewhere because that ended up being her husband. But Adrena was dating some Ryan guy too, like in the future seasons. Like, it turned into something with Corey, and it's crazy because her and Justin are forever like good friends. Moving on to season 4. Season 3 had a lot, and it's like the last season I really fully digest and watch, so like I had like a lot of notes on it. I want to move on to like season 4, and then like I'm gonna talk a little bit about season 5. I'm not really gonna talk about season 6 because I guess I will talk about it. So season 4 now, after Heidi went down to Vegas, she was up for another promotion. This would be a project manager role. Her and Spencer were not together at this point. So Spencer at this point chased her down to Vegas. They ended up leaving Vegas together with Stephanie. Stephanie went down there with him to get his woman. And by season 4, Spencer and Heidi are back together, back from Vegas, refreshed, working on their relationship. We also meet Heidi's sister. But before I even get into really season 4, I want to talk about the rumors that were going on ahead of season 4. There were rumors and nastiness. Not nastiness. Lauren Conrad was kind of done with the show by season 4. She did not want to continue. She was actually trying to leave. Production settled with her to film for season 4. So she did film completely for season 4, but she was growing frustrated with the show and with the production and with how it was coming out. I don't think she liked how she looked in season 3, especially with Lo, because they did get like bully allegations when they were living with Adrena. They were kind of like bullying her life, like, you know, why are you back together with Justin? Very judgmental. I don't think she liked the narrative that was out. And she was really much over the show, but production like convinced her, probably upped her money, like, hey, do another season with us. Like, come on. And the show is Lauren Conrad. Like, it's revolved around her. So she does come back. Back to season 4, you know, Spencer and Heidi, they are in a relationship. And we also meet Heidi's sister, Holly, her older sister. They look exactly like, well, Holly looks like Heidi's old face. But I digress. I actually liked Heidi's newer face before the new face. So whatever. Holly, and she kind of sees right through Spencer's BS. Like, she's kind of there to kind of not cause trouble between them, but it did cause trouble between them. Spencer and Heidi, it was another tension on their relationship because Heidi's sister Holly ends up moving to LA and staying with them for a little while. And Spencer basically forces Heidi to choose between him and Holly. And Heidi also admits like she didn't even want her like living there that long. Like, it's a lot, but it's like, it's my sister. What am I gonna do? You know, you're not gonna throw your sister out. Especially it's like awkward because like Spencer can't even put on the nice guy act just around her family. Like, he's just a dick like all the time. So Spencer basically forces Heidi to like kick his sister out, which she does. Adrena and Lauren are not good this season. They are not good. They are actually I think Lo was the catalyst to their friendship woes, a lot of it, because I think Lo was just so opinionated and like was just saying so much negative stuff, and she just had like a very bitchy attitude. And Adrena, whenever she was around, like, it just seemed like she was third wheeling a lot of times, Adrena. And you can already see that, like, distancing them in their relationship. So Lauren and Adrena are not really good at this point. They have several conversations throughout the show where they're trying to get back on with their friendship. I think the ultimate breakdown of their friendship comes to Vegas when they go down there to celebrate Frankie's birthday. And I guess there was some incident at a club where Adrena had said, like, she's with her friends because Lauren was trying to get her attention, like, kept calling her or something. And Lauren took that as, like, oh, so I'm not, like, your real friend. Also, at this point, Adrena and Heidi are pretty cool. Adrena, so it's, like, funny because it's, like, last season, season 3, as Lauren's getting cool with Stephanie, Spencer's sister, Adrena was getting cool with Heidi. Like, she's like, y'all's drama has nothing to do with me. Wherein initially Adrena was like, I can't talk to you, Heidi. Like, keep me out of it. All this stuff. But it's like, at the end of the day, Heidi and Adrena were friends before Adrena and Lauren were. Because Heidi was the one that made nice with Adrena at their same apartment complex, you know? So her and Heidi like are pretty cool, like cordial with each other. Lauren also doesn't like that, and it's another thing of like her trying to control her friendships. I do think Lauren was like a control freak. But like I said, I just thought she was the biggest hypocrite because it's like, how are you upset with me being cool with Heidi when you're cool with Spencer's sister, Stephanie, who is crazy? Speaking of that Vegas trip, Brody makes Stephanie cry because he's like, I just know how you are. Keep in mind, Brody and Spencer go way back. He's like, I know you're crazy. Guys, Stephanie is a former substance abuser. Like, she used to be on drugs, you know, and she's clean now. She used to be a smoker, like cigarettes, which she did mention. But Stephanie and Lauren become cool from taking the same computer class. I put air quotes. It's like crazy to me. The same computer class during season 3. That's when they got cool again. But Stephanie is really cool with Lauren during season 4. So yeah, Adrena and Lauren, they're not really in a good space. They try to rectify their relationship multiple times. Where I last left off, they're gonna really try it, put the effort in, put their differences aside, and try not to let outside influence affect them. But it just seemed very catty and stuff. And like I said, at this point in season 4, I'm shocked because Justin Bobby is still there. Also, he hated the nickname Justin Bobby, and that was the nickname Lo gave him. He hated that nickname. Like, his like, my name's Justin. And then I don't know, she says something, I think she was trying to joke, but it wasn't funny to him. And that's why ever since he was just like a dick to them, I felt like he was just mean. We also get Whitney getting a promotion at People's Revolution, which will require her to be bi-coastal. So she would be in New York City a lot of the times, and then she would be in LA a lot of times. However, we do see Whitney by the end of the series of season 4 leave LA completely to move to New York City. She gets her own spinoff, The City. I've never watched it. I heard it wasn't even worth it. And she ended up working for Diane Vaughn. Furstenberg, which is like very popular. Like, oh my gosh, when I looked her up, I was like, oh my gosh, I know this lady. So that evolves into Whitney kind of leaving the series, onto her own thing on The City. We get an introduction of Doug Reinhardt, who is Lauren's high school, not boyfriend, because she didn't know him from high school, but they went to different high schools and she went to his prom. And he's also he was a baseball player at the time, but he was injured. So we're seeing Lauren kind of get back out there and dating. I will say one thing about Lauren is like, she's always dating someone from her past, because she hung out with Jason a couple times season 3. They weren't getting back together. He was actually engaged. And Jason was clearly like newly clean and stuff. He shouldn't have been doing that. Obviously he didn't end up marrying that girl. And then we see her, like, Stefan come back around during season 4 as well. And I'm just saying, like, one thing about Lauren is, like, she will keep a man from the past. Like, she will keep a man from the past, at least in the series. Like, it's like every time she's dating someone new, it's someone from her past from high school. And her issue with Stefan, when they briefly went out on, like, a date or two, is, like, she's like, when I'm with him, I feel like, and that was her friend, remember, you guys, like, the whole Laguna Beach situation, so much. I'll never forget when she's talking to Lo, talking about the date. She's like, I feel great with him, but I feel like I'm in high school. I'm not in high school anymore. So now you're dating this other guy that you knew from high school. It doesn't work with Doug, but Doug stays in the group because he's actually friends with Brody and Frankie and them. He stays in the group. She eventually breaks it off with Doug. Like, hey, I just don't feel it with you. That's that. The gag is Stephanie and Doug start messing around. Just like everyone had warned her, do not trust Stephanie, which is kind of weird. Stephanie and Doug, they don't last long, but it is just really weird. I just think Stephanie really wanted Lauren's life, if I'm being like completely honest. Like, she was like obsessed with her. She wanted her whole life, and I did not like Stephanie Pratt. Like, if there's one reality TV villain I could not stand, it was like literally Stephanie Pratt. So yeah, they started messing around after Lauren had broken up with Doug, which is just weird. It was just weird. Justin and Adrina, I say this for every season as I was recapping it. They gave it another go. Justin is really good at being, good in the beginning, and then he falls off. So there was this weird rumor that circulated that Justin and Lauren had hooked up. And this caused another rift in Adrina's and Lauren's relationship. I don't remember where this rumor came from, but I remember Adrina reacting horribly to it. She thought it was true. She says that Lauren actually does flirt with him, so she believed it. And it ended up not being true. And there was this whole fight between Adrina, Lauren, and Lo, where Lauren yelled at Adrina, "You're actually worse than Heidi." Like, and that's what I say about Adrina, is like, this Justin guy has made her such an insecure person, because Lauren would not do that. And she really thought it was true. She really thought it was true. During season 4, we get the infamous Heidi writing a letter to Lauren, about how much she misses her and how much she wishes they could be friends. Heidi's biggest issue now with Lauren is like, how can you be friends with Spencer's sister, but you can't be friends with me? She was missing her friends, and like I said, Heidi was really ostracized from the group. A lot of the scenes were just Heidi Spencer filming with Stephanie, Heidi Spencer's filming with Holly now. Occasionally Heidi would be filming with Adrina, but I do think she was using Adrina to kind of get to Lauren to hopefully get back in with the group, but it didn't really work. So now we had that of them trying to like mend the relationship, and we actually see Lauren kind of feel bad. She's like, maybe we can mend our relationship, like, you know, I do feel bad. But Lauren's also biggest issue with Heidi was like she's blaming everything on Spencer, when it's like you're also to blame for the issues we have in our relationship. So Heidi and Spencer, by the end of season 4, end up eloping in Cabo, or I think they were in Cabo, Mexico, drunkenly. I don't think it was official though, because it was in Mexico. And this kind of brings up that whole issue they were having before. It's like he was just trying to elope, go to the courthouse. He wasn't trying to have a traditional big wedding. He was very quick and thirsty to just like lock it down with Heidi. I never understood that. Like, it's like, okay, we move in. I'm gonna propose to you. Like, he was just very quick to lock it down. Obviously, they're still together. Like, it's crazy to me. Like, you look at all the celebrity couples from reality TV that are still together. I'm still shocked that Heidi and Spencer like lasted, and I'm shocked that Jersey Shore, Snooki, and Giovanni lasted as well, or Giovanni or whatever his name was. Like, that's very shocking to me. So they ended up eloping, but it wasn't final because they weren't in the States. You know what I mean? So that becomes a big storyline into season 5, which we are now in. Heidi is trying again with Lauren. She does show up to her birthday party. Unexpectedly, Stephanie brings her. And, you know, they have a whole heart to heart. I don't know if Stephanie brought her, but they had a whole heart to heart. And yeah, it was the first time we kind of see like, okay, maybe something could like work out between them. Heidi and Spencer at this point, they're also going to couples counseling because Spencer has become very friendly with Stacy, who was this bartender. So they're going to couples counseling at this point, especially before the wedding, just to air some stuff out and to make sure they don't continue on a bad path before they get married. So at this point, Lauren is only on season 5 for 10 episodes. So there's 20. So there's an epic change. There's an epic mid-season finale, hour long. Like I said, Lauren was over the series by season 4. They promised her, they're like, hey, can you film season 4? They worked out a deal for her to have her exit season 5. She didn't have to work the whole season 5, so she was promised for 10 episodes and then she would leave. So we're kind of seeing Lauren wrap some stuff up, you know, wrap up some loose ends. And, you know, we're kind of seeing her storyline kind of close out. So at this point, she is, you know, recommending Stephanie, because remember they went to the same school, the fashion merchandise. She's recommending her for an internship at People's Revolution, which she ends up having to fire her because Stephanie is so bad at her job, like just terrible. And we're also seeing other storylines during season 5 as Lauren is wrapping up. We're seeing Brody bring around this new girl, Jade, who I always thought was like pretty. She's also Playmate. I mentioned earlier in the episode, I don't know what everyone's obsession is with Playmates in LA, but she's this Playmate. Her name was Jade. I did think she was pretty. Dark hair. Like, she looked like the Jade brat doll to me. So it was just so fitting to me that her name was Jade. Adrena and Brody also have some romance tension. And on the trip, like, I guess they weren't on a trip. I think it was either to Hawaii. And I think Adrena like puts the move on Brody. I don't know where their romance came from, but I always felt like they would have been a good couple. Like, there was always, I don't know if there was always romance tension there, especially because like she was always like rooting for Brody and Lauren to get together. But that's like a random storyline that was also happening. Like I said, they end up flirting. This gets back to Jade. Brody is mostly a main character by season 5. He was always kind of like, you know, a supporting character, but by season 5 he was really much like a main character. And the hills would really revolve around his relationships. I argue that he's the one that kind of took Lauren's place, not Kristin Cavallari. Like, yes, she did narrate it, but they kind of focused it around Brody and his relationships. Jade finds out Adrena was flirting with her man, cusses the girl out. Adrena tells Brody, like, hey, get your girl under control. Like, I can't believe she would do that. He sides with Jade. Adrena is shocked because she thought they had always been friends. At this point, her and Justin are like on and off again. When aren't they? Right? So at this point, Stephanie is dating this douchebag. Well, I don't know if he's a douchebag. I just think like Stephanie's not in the place that she should be dating. She's dating this guy named Cameron. Cameron and Spencer get into a heated argument, and this is the ex now. Like Stephanie is broken up with Cameron, and Spencer punches him at some bar. This turns into such a season 5. Spencer is very mean, very angry. He knows he's a huge reality star. They're making a lot of money on the hills, and they're making him and Heidi are making a lot of money in general for appearances, other reality shows. They're making a lot of money. And they talk about how broke they went. Like they had a lot of money and like they blew it all. But he's letting his anger get the best of him a lot. Ends up literally punching Cameron at some club. Cameron threatens to sue MTV. That did not happen. But this became a huge thing, like Spencer and his anger issues. Yeah, I just think he let the fame really get to his head. So Heidi and Spencer's wedding is in full effect by season 5, like towards the end. Or toward the midway, the mid-season finale is their wedding. And everyone's going. Everyone's going. Brody's going. Adrina's going. Lowe's even going. And one last attempt, Heidi hand delivers a wedding invitation to Lauren and basically is like, I want you to go. Lauren receives a phone call from Spencer. Or did she? Find out in part 2. She receives a phone call from Spencer apologizing because he just knows Heidi would be so happy if she made it to the wedding. Lauren ends up going to the wedding. This is her last episode. It is so crazy. I remember it like yesterday watching it. And I haven't even watched it yet in my rewatch, but I just know this episode, like, it's crazy. It's an hour long. She shows up to the wedding in this blue dress, hair to the side. She shows up to the wedding and she leaves. She leaves. She stays, and then she leaves the church quietly as they got married. She gets in her car and she drives off in the hillside. And guess who walks into the church? Kristin Cavallari. Kristin motherfucking Cavallari walks in. It's implied that Lauren saw her. It's edited that Lauren saw her and decided to exit the church. And then we never see Lauren Conrad again. I don't even know if any of the cast scenes Lauren Conrad again. I have to look that up. Lauren Conrad has kept a very low profile since The Hills. She had her fashion line that's in Kohl's, TJ Maxx, and all that stuff. But she's kept a very low profile. No more reality TV or anything. I don't know if she did any documentaries. But that was kind of the last we'd see of her. I don't know if this is the last everyone else saw of her, but we'll get into that on part 2. But now Kristin Cavallari, this episode was like a groundbreaking rating amount. It was like 2.1 million viewers for this episode. Kristin comes in, she takes over Lauren's spot as the narrator of The Hills. And now we are following Kristin, her relationships, her friendships, essentially. Kristin and Adrina do not get along, because Kristin is very much interested in Justin Bobby. She's interested. And, yeah, her and Justin, like, they have something, but it's with Justin, he's the same guy. He's going to be the same guy in all his relationships. They flirt. They actually end up ending the season together, going somewhere together. But it's never anything. It's never really anything with Justin. I think his one true love, though, will be Adrina. He just never could get it right together. But yeah, him and Kristin kind of have a fling. It doesn't really last long. But like I said, Adrina kind of becomes her nemesis because she finds out, like, why are you going after, my ex, my on again, my off again ex? Like, that has been the whole spew between them this whole time. Kristin's also introduced as Brody's ex. Or is she? But if you guys remember when I was talking about earlier in the episode, season 2, Lauren's like, I can't date Brody. He's tainted by Kristin. So I don't know. Did they date? Did they not date? Like, I don't know. Was that a made up storyline? We don't know. We're going to find out in part 2. You see, there's so much stuff that's like implied that like actually happened that didn't really happen. So yeah, season 5 kind of ends with like Kristin in her place as the last 10 episodes. The Hills ends with season 6. Season 6 was probably really terrible. And it really went downhill after episode 4. This is Stephanie's a full-time now after her brother and sister-in-law Heidi are no longer on the show. Spencer and Heidi are not asked back to the show or basically are off the show by season 6, episode 4, because Spencer's anger is so out of control by then. We also get Heidi's epic surgery reveal when she did 10 surgeries in one day. She died on the operating table. Yeah, she got a lot of surgeries done. She had like ear pinning. She got 10 surgeries in one day. I'm going to talk about her surgeries in part 2. Everything she got looked totally unrecognizable. Her friends, her family's reaction was very sad because she looked unrecognizable. She changed everything. She looked like the ultimate playgirl mate. Heidi has remained very open about these surgeries and, regretting doing that many. She just let Hollywood get to her. At this point, like I said, they were filthy rich. Spencer's anger was out of control, totally cut his sister off. Rightfully so, though. I feel like Stephanie was a mess and not a good sister, but totally cut his sister off at this point. And, Stephanie, Adrena, and all of them had agreed to like kind of isolate them from their life. But the real reason they were ordered off the show, episode 4, is because Spencer had threatened to kill a female producer. I guess she was making a request, and he was like, I should kill you just for that. And like seriously threatened her. And I guess this female producer made a claim to the network, and he was supposed to enter a 6-week anger management program. And then they were going to come back to the show. Eventually, he would never come back to the show, him and Heidi. Because of his anger and like the fame really went to his head. And though it was the end of the show, like I would say like Heidi and Spencer's fame was still skyrocketing at that point. They were getting booked for a lot of stuff. So yeah, season 6 essentially highlights that. Season 6 was really boring. It was really boring. Lo is also full-time, I think, at this point, which was really boring. Brody and Jade's relationship is like on and off from season 5, and now he's like single again. But the ultimate ending of The Hills marks Kristin going for a journey to Europe and leaving. And we get the epic Brody dropping her off or like saying goodbye to her driving away, him waving, him walking, in like the hills being depicted on a studio set, like at Universal Studios, I think. And the set going up, the Hills sign coming down, like as she's like waving, and it's like the Hills sign. And then we get Brody waving, and it's kind of like this whole, okay, and scene, like that's a wrap. And it's crazy because for so long, the Hills had got these accusations of it being fake. And they kind of at the end gave into it. They're like, is it real or was it not? And I want to break down a lot of those scenes. I want to break down the ultimate season 6 ending. I'm going to continue with that on my part 2. What happened once the cameras came up and they were like, and that's a wrap. We're seeing this Hills fake sign. It wasn't even the real, Hollywood sign come down. It was a fake Hollywood cardboard sign that people use on set. We're seeing the cameras pan up, and we're just seeing Brody like walk off a set, like as he was an actor. And that's how it literally wraps up. And I always compare it to Vanderpump Rules ending, because when they're all walking off, and then Tom Sandoval's like, yeah, this is going to look great for me. And it's like Ariana walking off. I compare that to the Hills ending. And I was like, they should have ended Vanderpump Rules there. And then maybe had like a Vanderpump Rules New Beginnings. Like, I don't even think they should name this next season that's coming up Vanderpump Rules. Just that, like, that's where they screwed up on Roni. Like, they shouldn't have left the same name for this new set of women. But that is like the whole breakdown of like all the seasons of the hills and setting the groundwork. So there's like just certain things we know going into part two, because part two, I'm really going to focus on what's real and what wasn't real. Or I'm going to point out instances like historic or like, pop culture instances on the show that I thought was real or you would think was real that wasn't real. It's going to go down from literally, Jim Bunny, like from Heidi and Spencer. Like, I want to break down her surgeries as well. And I'm really going to talk more into that nitty gritty. But I want to just do like a recap of like my favorite reality show, one of my real favorite reality shows. And yes, I just love The Hills so much. But that was your part one of What's the Reality on What the Reality, The Hills edition. And stay tuned for part two. Part two will probably be out next Friday, or not next Friday, it will be out the following Friday. But I will be back for Toxic Tuesdays to talk about all the changes to my pod and, my new setup more and all these toxic talks we got to talk about. There's been a lot going on. But yes, I'm super excited for you guys to listen to this episode. Make sure you guys give me 5-star comment, give it a like, all of that good stuff. Thank you so much for listening. Until the next time.